Hey everybody, welcome back to their first impressions. This time around I'll be taking a look at the 9th studio album by King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard titled Flying Microtonal Banana on Flightless Records from 2017. I don't know how they do it. This is the first of 5 LPs they're going to release in 2017 alone. 5 LPs. I am flabbergasted, and apparently each one's going to take it from a different approach. I don't know what the next 4 are going to be, but this one is playing around, experimenting with microtones. I tried to look that up. I'm not that musically inclined. I used to read music, I don't anymore. But from what I could surmise, microtones, at least when it applies to Western music, are the notes in between notes. So we have, what, like a 12-tone scale? Well, other types of music have more notes. Think about music from India or China. They have a different tonal scale, they have different keys and stuff. So as a Western musician, when you go into those scales, those notes, it's kind of refreshing. And I think for them, it kind of gave them a jumping off point, a spark of creativity in their music, because these guys are so prolific. And I think what they came up with was really successful. I really think they put out a great album. It's not just a bunch of fluff. I don't think that's really something that they do. I think they just have all these songs and they need to release them to the world. And I don't think they just flippantly put out music, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of intention. I didn't know what to expect going into this album because the only other album I heard of theirs was their last LP, Nonagon Infinity, and I really enjoyed that, but that again had a very specific idea, which is it's an infinite album. It just keeps going and going. Each song bleeds right into the next one. And while there is a little bit of that in this record, in the sense that there are these really nice seamless transitions between one song and the next, there's no real clean breaks, like track breaks like we're used to per se. I mean, there's 1 or 2 moments where it does get rather quiet, but it feels like each song has a natural transition into the next song. It's not really abrupt. I will say that the vocals right before Nuclear Fusion, that's somewhat abrupt. Like, whoa, what is this? Because it kind of has this real deep, kind of slowed down sound, which I kind of thought was cool. In general, I felt this album was a little bit more relaxed, whereas Nonagon Infinity was just like this hard-hitting, non-stop action, comic book, hero, you know, just like crazy thing, whereas this is a little more laid back. It's a little bit kind of, it puts you in a state, kind of a more grounded state. It's more like meditative, but in the sense that you're grooving along, like it's cool. It's not necessarily punching you in the face with music. It's got some drive to it. The first song on here is Rattlesnake, and I think that was their first single off this album. And I enjoy it, I really do, but I feel the album version, it tends to hang around a little too long. I think it comes in at 7 minutes or something, and I kind of lost interest at times, but it definitely reeled me back in. But otherwise, I think it's a great lead-off single. The second track on here, which is Melting, I really feel like that song really hit home the concept of microtones for me. And I love the organ, which I believe is a synthesized organ, but I love that sound. By the third track, that's when things got real interesting for me. My ears kind of perked up and I was like, all right guys, bring it on. Let me hear what you have to say. And then this track is a little darker, it's a little bit more intense, and I really like that. Now flipping over to side 2, we open with one of my favorite songs off this album, which is Sleep Drifter. Wow, it is really, really good. Guys, check it out. One of the things I really like about this song is the drums and the vocals and the harmonica. I like the blend of all those instruments and just that driving beat. Now the second song on side B, which is Billabong Valley. This one has this piano part and it almost doesn't work. It's really interesting because they're doing all this microtonal stuff, but then you have this very Western piano instrument and it almost clashes. Like there's moments where my ears are like, I don't like this. It's not supposed to sound like that. So then on track 4 on side B, we have Doom City, and I really like these kind of slowed down freak out moments that happen intermittently during the song. Like the song has this driving beat, but then all of a sudden it'll stop and kind of like boo, boo, go down to this kind of cool sort of droning thing. I really dig it. I kind of already touched on Nuclear Fusion before. This is track 5 on side B, but this song, I love the beat of it. It has this kind of syncopated driving rhythm, and to me this is one of the most unique songs on here. And then the last song on side B is the title track, and for me this really sums up the whole album. Like if you were just to listen to one song off of here, I would say check that one song out because I think it has all the elements in that one song that the whole album has. So basically it's one song that's about 2 minutes long. It's really short. There's no vocals on it. And I feel like that's just kind of a nice conclusion to the whole thing. And I think it'll give you a real sense of what you're in store for. It's not their most powerful song. They could have easily left it off, but I think including that sort of gives you as a listener a nice little space to breathe before flipping the record over and playing it again. You know what I mean? So my only little gripe with it is that it kind of feels very samey. Like every song has guitars harmonizing with vocals. Like they do the same melody line. For me, I see it more as a motif, but I can understand why someone would be like, oh, that song sounds like this, like that song. I don't think that's the case with this album. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of different things. I think on the first pass, you're gonna have that impression, but the more you listen to it, you're gonna hear different elements going on. You're going to hear the different instrumentations. You're going to hear each song has its own sort of unique flavor. What I really like about it is that they're taking their sort of garage rock, surf punk roots and combining it with this Eastern influence into this nice little 9-song package, and it's delightful. And I love the fact that they're experimenting, like they're taking something very specific and expounding upon it onto a whole LP, and I am just really excited to see what the next 4 albums are going to be, because you never know with these guys. They could just go all the way left field. The other thing I want to say too, it does sound like King Gizzard. So despite adding all these microtonal elements and different instruments into it, it still sounds like them. And I think that is the crowning achievement of this album. Is it their best album? It's hard for me to say. I gotta say that Nonagon Infinity sort of rises a little bit higher than this album, but that could be because that's like my first introduction into them, and I have a little bit of a favoritism to that album. But they have 9 records. I have yet to go through all of them, so I'm not gonna make that call right now, but if you guys have, and you have an opinion on this, I would love to know where this album falls in their lineup. So I wanna touch on the packaging just for a little bit because, man, this stuff is so cool. Now this isn't as elaborate as maybe some of their other albums, but one of the things I loved is that it came with this hype sticker that's literally a scratch and sniff. You scratch this, it smells like bananas. I love it. Although it's like that artificial banana smell, you know, like you know it's really fake, but I love that. The album itself, I really dig it. It says everything you need to know. Kind of has that Snake Charmer feel, but it's been fused in a nuclear reactor, so it's kind of got this crazy vibe going on. On the back, you get a little bit about what they're doing, but they don't really, I don't feel like they accurately describe exactly what they're doing on this album, at least to someone who doesn't necessarily read music or understands microtonal. And maybe there's an interview where they talk about it in more detail. I haven't found that yet. The album comes in a sleeve, a lyric sleeve. And lastly, oh man, I can't wait to show you guys this. I love that color. This brings me right back to my childhood. I feel like so many toys were done in this color of, it's like a green, yellow, neon green, yellow. Like, I think Legos use this color. Oh man, really cool stuff. So there you have side A and the side B label. Well guys, that has been my first impressions of the 9th album by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard's Flying Microtonal Banana. I really enjoy this album. I don't know if it will be my favorite album of theirs, but I definitely give this a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It really is a good album, and I enjoyed the fact that they're experimenting with these different sounds. Now, I want to know what you guys have to say. Be sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this album and where it rates in their overall discography. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I am your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Hey guys, thanks again for checking out this episode of First Impressions. Now, if you want to see more King Gizzard, I linked up a pick of the week where I feature their 8th album, Nanogon Infinity. And you can also check me out on the social media webs, as well as hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.